I guess one of the, obviously it's a big challenge for everybody when we were uh, basically having to go into lockdown and obviously work from home where we could. And I know there's a lot of businesses that have struggled because they simply couldn't offer the facility, shall we say, for people to work from home. We are in a lucky position. We're a technology company, and we already had the technology in place to be able to drive forward with our remote working operation, as it were. And we're really pleased to basically get everybody out into a remote working environment. It did pose a few challenges. So first of all, from a leadership perspective, we had to lead in a different way. And, you know, normally where you'd have, you know, obviously people with bums on seats, as it were, that leaders could see. Clearly it was a challenge for leaders to look at how they could accommodate embracing their people, working with their people, and doing that effectively. Excuse me a sec. It's been a bit of a rush this morning. So with our leaders, one of the things we wanted to focus on is they contacted their people regularly every day, and basically just to catch up. And mainly that was to, one, keep connected with them, and secondly, make sure from a well-being perspective that they were not struggling with working from home. And certainly that, you know, if you look at the population of people, we're over 600 people strong in our organisation. There were some people that gradually did suffer some mental health issues. So that was a big challenge for us too. And we tried our best to accommodate that by ensuring that we had some mental health and well-being programs in place that people could participate in them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The crux of us for our business was obviously to try and get to business as usual, you know, operate as business as normal, as it were. And as I say, we arranged for leaders to have daily heads ups on Teams, Microsoft Teams, with their people. And basically we wanted to make sure that was happening. So we had the leaders check in to say that they'd done that, particularly in the early days, to make sure that was happening. We felt that was important. One of the things we started to look at as well is what are the leadership challenges that come alongside this, obviously with remote working. And one of the things that we started to draft is a set of guidelines for leaders in managing remotely. And I think the biggest focus for us was trying to get leaders to shift from production, you know, a productivity focus, shall we say, to more of an output focus. And what I mean by output focus is that you're giving people, you're focusing around what needs to be achieved in terms of objectives, etc. But that output perspective, should we say, is basically implying to employees that you manage your own time. You know, obviously at that time there were challenges in the early days with people having to look after children, etc. So basically we had leaders focus completely on working through objectives, focusing on outputs, and allowing people to just manage how they deliver those outputs in their own way. And that's been a real success for us, although quite a shift for leaders from that perspective. Moving on from that, we announced initially that we would be working from home till the end of August, and then obviously things didn't really improve. So we've announced now that we'll be working from home till the end of this year. And the way things are going at the moment, I suspect that we'll be pushing it on again, to be honest with you. One of the things that was really important for us was having an established internal communications team. And I know not every business would be able to establish one of those depending on the size, etc. But that's been an invaluable support to us in terms of it's been a tool to keep us connected with our employees right the way through the whole process. And you know, it's an open forum or it provides an open forum. We call it our hubble, as it were. In addition to a variety of advice we provide, variety of elements of advice we provide relating to working from home, We also have open social forums, etc., so people can network together, share their experiences of working from home, etc. And that's really been a significant benefit to us. In addition to that, we've also worked towards looking after people's mental health, as I mentioned earlier. So we've had a variety of mental health programs, which are supported by, I can't remember the organisation now, but an organisation in Manchester that have helped us. And they've done a variety of short webinars, etc., talking about the challenges of working from home and how it can affect people. And that's been very well received. And in addition, we've tried to work through a program of keeping that social connection. So we've had a variety of social events, virtual social events, whether it be virtual pub quizzes, book clubs, photography clubs, etc. All things to just keep people connected with our culture and ensure that people still feel that they're part of our organisation, as it were. We've still got a lot to learn. As I say, we regularly roll out surveys every 3 months just to check in with people, and they're purely on the theme of how the leaders are supporting people and their perspectives there, and also obviously that their physical environment is suitable for them, i.e. if they need any support in terms of furniture, equipment, etc., we can provide that for them, and in most cases we deliver it to the houses. And then finally, of course, the mental health element, just to make sure that we are recognising people that are struggling, and our HR team, and we have a variety of mental health first aiders as well, can support people if they're struggling with the environment. In a lot of cases, the biggest issues we're facing from a mental health perspective are issues around isolation, people living on their own, or just basically people missing company of the social network that you'd have in the workplace. So we've done our best, as I say, to manage that through a variety of social events, etc.
I just wanted to ask, Frank, for a lot of people at the moment, they might see it as a bit of a barrier to recruitment if they've got their teams working from home, but it doesn't have to be. Now, as a technology business in particular, what recommendations would you give to people about onboarding new recruits that are going to be based from home and trying to embrace that within that company culture and giving them the right start to their new role?
That's a good question. I think the way we've approached it is to try and recognise what do we provide to people to make them feel part of our CDL community, as it were, and see if we can duplicate that process. It's fairly easy for us to transfer our induction programme that we have to online, but some of the little add-ons we have is we have scheduled meet the managers sessions. We just commenced actually over the last few weeks a group networking session for people to be able to meet other people from other parts of the business. So we set that up for them so they can talk about their roles, etc., and how they fit into the overall CDL operation, as it were. It is an ongoing challenge. I think because we're in technology, people feel generally comfortable working in that environment. So we're not having any huge issues in terms of the challenge of interviewing remotely, etc. Leaders are fine with that, etc. But I do think it's one of the things we're recognising, because we're in the technology market, is there is quite a compelling demand, I think, and particularly will be in the future, for us to have some established remote working as part of the contract of employment for people. I do think it is going to change the world of work for us significantly, and I think that would happen for technology companies, because basically they prove in most cases they've proven they can make it work. And I think if I look pre-COVID, we were starting to face up to the challenge that to be an employer of choice or an attractive employer for key talent, we had to have some remote working mechanism in place, so we had more flexibility for people. Interestingly enough, one of the challenges we're thinking about now is obviously we're Stockport based, although we have an international activities, as it were. One of the interesting things, and from a people perspective, I'm keen on this for obvious reasons, is if we introduce a full-time remote working program, whether it be voluntary or impressing people that they do that as a matter of choice, as it were, then we actually could start to broaden our reach for talent across the UK, potentially across the globe. And that could be a really exciting opportunity. So in some ways, and I think many businesses will be the same, it's forced our hand to take this on, as it were, and push away old practices, and is also presenting us with some amazing opportunities for the future. I couldn't overemphasize how important communication is in this process to keep people connected to the culture, keep people connected to the business. And I think importantly for people as well, a big lever for retention of talent is that people can make a connection between what they're doing in their job and what the business is trying to achieve. And I think having those daily heads up with leaders, it's not to check on people. It's apart from just to make sure that they're well, they're healthy, etc. So we do our best to insist people attend by video so we can see how they are. Leaders can see how they are. But yet, it's certainly to me, communication is the most important, the elevated process here that needs to happen frequently to keep them connected in those key facets that I highlighted earlier.